Hello and welcome to some more Star Citizen. The RSI Galaxy is Star Citizen's latest concept ship. It's a big ship that focuses on being modular and versatile with medical, cargo and refinery modules that drastically alter its gameplay. We've had a Q&A about the ship that has a load of really juicy information that I want to delve into. Let's start with one of those questions. If I don't have any modules, is the center of the ship just an empty room, or does the Galaxy come with a stock module? Further, is the void full or empty, and can I put stuff in there? If you have no module, the Galaxy has an empty void with a shell to keep the hull airtight, allowing you to traverse from the hangar to the rest of the ship. As it's simply an empty space, you could put stuff in there, but with a lack of cargo plates, it would be subject to all the normal risks of unsecured cargo. The Galaxy doesn't come with like a stock module for two reasons. Firstly, we want players to pick their initial module rather than being saddled with whatever would have been the base plus the one they want. Secondly, these modules will take up physical space in an inventory like all components. Therefore, if every ship came with a module that players didn't necessarily want, it would be unfairly penalizing them. So, it doesn't have a base module, but you can run it without modules, and it just has an empty space which you could put stuff in. I hope that's the same pretty much with every modular ship. If you choose to run it without a module, then bam, it's just an empty space that's also sealed from the elements so that you don't just depressurize your ship. What is involved with changing out the modules? For example, how long will it take? Where can it be done? And can we change modules on the fly, or do we have to transport all the modules to one location like other ship components? Due to their size, the modules need to be swapped out at a location capable of that type of work, such as Cousin Crow's custom craft shops, and will require the ship to be there for a period of time. Exact timings are still to be determined due to the relative ease of access. This won't be a lengthy process with the Galaxy, providing all the required parts are at the location. This is really good to hear. So you require specialist facilities to move out certain components and modules. I suspect size and type are also going to be a factor here, but Cousin Crow's Custom Crafts, the shop that we have at Orison, that sort of place will be able to do those changes, and there's going to be costs and times associated with those, just like there will be with cargo. Can the Galaxy's modules be dropped off planet-side to create a temporary base of operations? No. The modules themselves require power and cooling from the ship itself, so they are not able to function independently. In addition, they're installed with a covering cap to lock them in place, which would need removing first. Beyond the medical module, does the ship have any other medical equipment on just as standard? So if I've got a different module in there, do I get like a med bed? There is no onboard medical equipment, such as medbed, outside the medical module. The Galaxy doesn't seem too well shielded. Having just one large shield, how does the shield compensate for that? Meaning, will it be fast or be heavily armored or anything like that? This is part of a longer term relook at how not just shields but all components function across our ships. Expect to see more updates on this in the new year, along with further information on what ships are having alterations to their loadouts to accommodate it. In short, the Galaxy will be well shielded for its size, as the role of size 3 large shields will be significantly different to size 2 medium ones, and a lot of ships will find themselves with either fewer larger items or more than 2 smaller items to help provide greater gameplay depth. So this is really interesting to know, obviously, as Cloud Imperium build out the resource management system and physical components, and now look back at all of the components in game and go, actually, how do we want these to operate? How do we want customization of ships to operate? And how much choice do we want players to have? They're changing up the sizes and the amounts of components. What is under the bridge of the Galaxy? It's just a cool looking visual design with no intended gameplay functionality. Can we get an explanation of what the 2 rooms on the first floor at the very front of the Galaxy are? On the upper deck, the front 2 rooms behind the bridge are for the crew lift and the docking collar. On the lower deck, the forward room is for components, and the one further rearward is the crew locker suit room for exiting the vehicle via the lifts. Are any of the turrets pilot controlled? If not, does the pilot have access to any other weapons? The pilot only has access to missiles. The turrets are controlled by the crew. How does the refinery module compare to the MISC Expanse's ability to run 6 separate refining jobs simultaneously? And does the module have any storage for refined ore on its own? The Galaxy's refinery module has both storage for raw and refined materials, outside of just saddlebag storage like the Expanse, as well as 2 reactors that are much larger than the Expanse's, so while it can run fewer simultaneous jobs, it can process much larger quantities per job and then store them after. Now this is really interesting because I think that the refinery module on the Galaxy is really, really powerful and really useful compared to the medical module and the cargo module, because realistically with the medical module, there's better medical modules. There's you can run Apollo, and it's smaller and more focused at medical gameplay and more modular within that medical gameplay, although you could argue that the sort of Galaxy has more medical capacity because it's effectively got an extra like 50% medical capacity compared to the Apollo in the way that it chooses its modules, because the Apollo basically has 2 modules that you can fill up with any one of 3 sort of modules in each of them, so you can have 1 tier 1 bed, 2 tier 2 beds, or 3 tier 3 beds. So I'm going to run in my Apollo, for example, a tier 1 bed and 2 tier 2s. But the Galaxy effectively has 1 of each of those, so 1 tier 1, 2 tier 2s, and 3 tier 3s. But does it have the medical stretcher drones that the Apollo has? Now, so I can go, well, actually, I like the idea of just a focused medical ship with the Apollo, and cargo ships, there are just better cargo ships. The refinery module, though, it does seem to have a bit more use, potentially, than the Expanse. Yes, it's got sort of larger quantities that it can process, and it's probably going to be pretty good at multi-role and sort of doing a little bit of protection of a mining fleet, refining fleet. That's just my take on it, though. Typically, these sort of modular ships, maybe they're not going to be great at any one role, but their flexibility's there, and I think that is something that people will really, really like. Can the Galaxy refuel its quantum tank somehow from refined quantanium it has created in the refinery module? There's no direct connection to the quantum tanks from the refineries, unlike the MISC Odyssey, so any refined quantanium by the RSI Galaxy is for sale and trade, rather than automatically refilling its own tanks. The Galaxy's promotion website states an afterdeck that serves as a dedicated hangar or sizable cargo hold. Does this mean that this entire afterdeck area has a cargo grid of 64 SCU, or just the sides of it? Can we transport either 64 SCU or a size 1 ship in the afterdeck, or can we transport both at the same time? The 64 SCU cargo grid are 2 times 32 grids spaced out at the edge of the hangars and do not interfere with the hangar metrics, allowing both an XXS or size 1 ship and 64 SCU to be stored simultaneously. Can the cargo module be used as an improvised hangar, and can one use tractor beams to pull the Tumble Nova or Atlas platform vehicles into the cargo module? If you can fit the vehicle either through the door to the hangar or up the lift, then this is perfectly possible, but not intended. The cargo lift is capable of loading 2 32 SCU containers at a time, so vehicles up to and including the RSI Ursa will comfortably fit. What can you tell us about the Galaxy's maneuverability or speed capabilities compared to the Carrack and Constellation? Due to the Galaxy's size, expect it to be closer to the Carrack in terms of maneuverability and speed rather than the Constellation. Does the hangar have refuel and repair capabilities? The Galaxy has no inbuilt systems to refuel or repair, so would rely on players to bring the tools and equipment to do so. What size ships can we fit in the Galaxy's rear hangar? For example, will a MISC Prospector fit in there? Does the rear hangar have a ramp or lift for ground vehicles, or can ground vehicles only be used with module lifts? The rear hangar is a size 1 hangar, XXS, and as such is not capable of fitting a MISC Prospector. However, the refinery module is fully compatible with the Prospector and Argo Mole's cargo saddlebags, so they can offload their materials to be refined. The rear hangar does not have a ramp, as a ramp at the required angle would extend the ship's footprint beyond its designed hangar metrics, denying it the use of certain landing pads and facilities. Another lift at the rear would have minimal clearance for loading compared to the central module lifts, therefore only the central area is compatible with ground vehicles by design. To try and clear up some of the confusion that exists with hangar sizing, we have XXS size 1, XS size 2, S size 3, M size 4, L size 5 and XL size 6 hangar metrics, sometimes referred to as size 1 to 6. A ship must entirely fit within one of those sizes to spawn. However, we do not have all the hangar sizes at all locations. For example, the smallest hangar at most space stations and landing zones is S, so any XXS or XS ships spawn there instead. Landing pads at places like Port Olisar and planetary outposts go down to XXS, size 1. Examples of ships that fit in the XXS metrics are the Anvil Pisces, Argo MPUV, Misk Razor, Origin 85X, the Origin M50, snubs as well. I'm really glad that Cloud Imperium took the time to actually explain the hangar metrics in a little bit more detail there. Very useful. So a bit more on the Galaxy. I really like the idea of the RSI Galaxy. It isn't too combat heavy, and it's going to have more modules options in the future than the 3 that are currently planned. So it also means that Cloud Imperium are looking at modularity in earnest again. I want to see modularity on the Caterpillar, because that's the reason I bought one. That said, it's probably something that they will work on after the resource management system and physical components are sort of complete. I was also really surprised by the base version of the ship only being $350 or available from $350. I was thinking it was going to be closer to $600, but I suppose you do need to purchase a module really as well with it, otherwise it doesn't have much use in game. Also, it's worth remembering, you don't need to spend real money to get these ships. You can get them in game once they're actually out. I keep on getting questions like, should I switch up my Apollo to get a Medical Galaxy, and I think I sort of answered this earlier, but I personally wouldn't. I really like the Apollo for focused medical gameplay, and if you want something bigger, then maybe consider getting the Hope Hospital, the Endeavour with the hospital and hangar module. But that's just sort of my personal view on that. The Galaxy is going to be a great modular ship if you want to keep on changing its role. And boom, yeah, that's my thoughts on the Galaxy Q&A and what I think of the ship. It looks cool, and the modularity is awesome, but there are other ships that can do each of its roles better or more focused, other than maybe that sort of refining gameplay. What do you think, though? Are you going to be picking up a Galaxy, or do you already have one, or do you already have ships that cover its roles? What do you think of its modularity? Are you looking forward to modularity in the future with like the Caterpillar, or just more generally in game, I suppose? Whatever your thoughts, I'd love to hear from you in the comments below.
Ho ho ho! Merry Nordmas!
It's Santa!
No, Timmy, it's Father Nordmas. I'm legally distinct and spread NordVPN cheer. Here you go, little Tim. Have some discount on your next NordVPN purchase. Just what you wanted. Go to nordvpn.com/BoredGamer.
But Santa, we don't want a VPN.
I told you, Tim, it's Father Nordmas.
Every month we have a ship giveaway. For December, we are giving away the mighty Drake Corsair Explorer with a Star Citizen game package and lifetime insurance. This no-nonsense Explorer can take you and 3 friends to the limits of adventure around the verse, and although more focused on exploration and expedition, it is a great multi-role mission runner too. Comment on any of my videos during December to be in for a chance of winning that. Thank you so much for supporting the channel. Please don't forget to like and especially subscribe to the videos, leave comments, and if you feel so inclined, use the join button under my videos and give a little bit each month to help the channel. It really, really does help. Or you can even become a Patreon or donate. Check out all the links below. Thanks very much for watching. Have a great time in the verse.